Before that, a feature-length drama for Remembrance Sunday written by Stephen MacDonald, about the real-life relationship between the poets Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon. The story of their friendship is told in a series of flashbacks, narrated by Sassoon, played by the writer, who managed to survive World War I. Sadly, Owen was killed shortly before the armistice. Much of the action takes place during their time as patients in a hospital near Edinburgh in 1917. And the title, Not About Heroes, is a quotation from the preface Wilfred Owen wrote in preparation for the publication of his collected poems.
Not About Heroes. The Friendship of Siegfried Sassoon and Wilfred Owen by Stephen MacDonald. Wiltshire, the 3rd of November, 1932.
And then the rain began, a jolly old rain. On the shapes of the slain, in their crumpled disgrace, I stared for a while through the thin, cold rain. No, not that. It's bad to think of war, when thoughts you've gagged all day come back to scare you. And it's been proved that soldiers don't go mad unless they lose control of ugly thoughts. Now, light your pipe. Look, what a steady hand. Draw a deep breath, stop thinking, count 15, and you're as right as rain. 15? It's 15 years. He'd been nearly 40, with grey hair. Even then his thick dark hair was touched with white above the ears, and he was only 24. Oh, stop remembering. Read something. Now, this. Siegfried, thy father's ward, with many a kestrel mimicking the dove. His laugh. I enjoyed making him laugh. What was it that set him off? A sense of God. Is this become a gourd, a Gothic vacuum?
Quiet. I think we're disturbing our friend.
A friend, yeah.
Over there, lurking behind the Scotsman.
Everybody in Edinburgh lurks behind the Scotsman. It ain't you who are making all the noise. Ah, here's another one. See Belger's palsied fingers, stiffening dead, haply. Do you know, I think this book is very special.
I think it defies description.
Oh, you should have more charity. These stanzas have obviously been written in the deepest dejection.
Near Naples?
What?
The stanzas written in dejection near Naples.
Oh, Shelley?
Yes.
No, these are more like stanzas written in sulk near Scunthorpe. When every verse book he could boast, largest her epic, ode and sonnet, an easy chair behind them on it, some deathless poet's genial ghost. Oh, sorry, unfortunate in the circumstances.
Please, not tonight, don't spoil it. It's only Scarborough, not the Somme.
For the time being. Ah, when dawned Mexique on Cortez' eye, when Captain Cook first sniffed the wattle, when love Columbused Aristotle, what gaudy days in history.
Gaudier and gaudier.
Here are the books for you.
For me? But I've already had one farewell present, the Bernard Adams book.
That was an attempt to stop you from going. This is to make you laugh as you go.
It's not really my decision, you know.
Dr. Rivers would have let you stay on. I asked him.
I wanted to stay with you and the rest.
But?
I'm fit again. Not a single tremble, not a stammer. Now, I can't hide in Craiglockhart for the duration of the war.
No, we can't hide. Or be hidden, either. Well, I hope the book inspires you. Your acts as an awful warning.
It's priceless. Thank you. I'll treasure it.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Where did you get it?
He sent it to me.
He? The author?
The deathless poet himself.
Ah, you know him then?
Of course not. Even if I did, do you think I'd admit to it?
Then why should he send it to you?
Look at the foreword.
proceeds, if any, of this book are intended to swell the funds of the hospitals established for the care of critical nerve cases from the front. Oh, I see.
As if shell shock weren't enough, he piles on poetic palsy. Oh, here, give me that book for a moment. I'd forgotten the best one. Yeah, I don't disagree with some of his targets. It's his poetry I can't stomach. Ah, yes, here it is. What cassocked misanthrope, hawking peace canticles for glory gains, jars in mid-ecstasy, the popped of hate.
The what of hate?
The popped. What else would it be?
What's a pop?
Not a popped, he popped. He popped. The popped.
What's he talking about? What's something popped?
It sounds like something rather worrying you buy in a chemist's shop.
He who lurks behind the Scotsman is looking pained.
That's not pain, it's envy. We are refreshing for him a memory that grows dimmer by the minute.
We are?
Oh, yes.
A memory of what?
Of what it's like to fight and die gloriously for our country. Going out to be slaughtered is our especial privilege. That's what he envies, poor old thing.
Snug at the club two fathers sat, gross goggle-eyed and full of chat.
One of them said, "My eldest lad writes cheery letters from Baghdad, but Arthur's getting all the fun at Arras with his 9-inch gun." Oh, Christ.
You know there is no alternative. I have to go back.
I know nothing of the sort.
All right. Well, what you do know, better than any of us, is that I have no place where I can stand and tell him unless it's back there.
Oh, yes, back there. Just far enough away for him to forget you ever lived.
I might not die.
You must not die. There's been enough. No more of us must die, neither British nor Bosch, for neither king nor Kaiser.
SS, Edinburgh, 1917. When Captain Cook first sniffed the wattle,
And love Columbus Aristotle.
well,
Well,
I think I should go for my train
Waverley,
at midnight.
in that case.
I should.
It's home to Shrewsbury.
Then London. Then a report to Scarborough in 3 weeks' time.
Scarborough.
Not the Somme.
Not yet. No, not yet. Oh. I shall be, when you've gone, so...
I have been very proud, you know, vain, boasting of your friendship to everyone I've met or written to since August, when first I knocked at your door.
Timid as a harvest mouse. Well, you looked rather like a harvest mouse, too. Eyes wide with awe.
Of the great hero, the great poet.
Until you got to know me better.
And then it was more than pride.
Oh, I want you to have this envelope. Look at it in the train.
Another present?
No, not a present, not really. Travelling instructions could be of use, I hope, sir. So, it's been good.
It's been...
Oh, you must take great care of yourself. For me and all of us.
Is that an order?
It's a strict order. Well, I'm glad there was nobody around to witness that little scene. For the honour of our fellow nerve cases and all that. Craiglockhart might have crumbled. Now, look, you're forgetting my present, Mr. Strong's masterpiece.
As if I never...
When you find out what Graham is, for God's sake, let me know.
Grain?
Graham, page 17. Loud chiding ewes their lambkins claim. Can fleece delusions shrill such grame?
What? Are you making that up?
I am a minor versifier of the language, not a mass bloody murderer of it. For God's sake, find out and tell me what the silly man's talking about.
I will. Grain.
You'll miss your train.
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'll write.
Yes, do. You must. Go. Now. He did catch the midnight train. Almost 15 years ago. The 4th of November, 1917. My dear Wilfred Owen had exactly 12 months left to live. I think our parting would have been easier if we'd had any confidence that either of us would live to meet again. There wasn't much hope of it. The war in which he and I fought inspired poetry with the same prodigality with which it slaughtered the poets, and by 1917 its appetite for death grew daily by what it fed on. But that parting was harder even than the fear of each other's death. I believe that neither of us knew how close our friendship had become, how much we'd learned to depend on each other, until we looked at a future apart. It was an unlikely friendship. Our worlds had between them supposedly impenetrable barriers of money, class, education, accidents, all given to me, denied to him. And then we met in an unlikely place for such a friendship to flower. The Craiglockhart Hydropathic Establishment, or the Hydro. It was a great, gloomy, cavernous place, even in the bright summer of 1917. A museum of living horror, containing some 160 officers whose minds had been broken by their experience of war. It had been renamed the Craiglockhart War Hospital for Nervous Disorders. The reasons why I was sent there are complicated. Wilfred was broken in France in the spring of that year. Accused of cowardice by his colonel, he was then sent to Craiglockhart at the end of June, when they didn't know what else to do with him.
My darling mother, I can have no friends in this place. The impulse is not in me to walk abroad and find them.
But then his wise doctor persuaded him to become the editor of the hospital weekly journal, the Hydra. He became active, energetic, and even optimistic. And he was writing.
Sing me at morn, but only with your laugh, even as spring that laugheth into leaf, even as love that laugheth after life.
He also found time for the poems of others.
Dearest mother, I have just been reading Siegfried Sassoon's new poems. Nothing like his trench life sketches has ever been written, or ever will be written. Shakespeare reads vapid after these. Not, of course, because Sassoon is a greater artist, but because of the subjects. Did you know that he won the Military Cross in the Battle of the Somme last year? And he was recommended for a VC. But the rumour is that he threw his medals into the river when he came back. He was wounded in April, and it was while he was convalescing in England that he drew up a statement about the war. It was reported in the Times last week. I've cut it out for you.
I'm making this statement as an act of willful defiance of military authority, because I believe that the war is being deliberately prolonged by those who have the power to end it. I believe that this war, upon which I entered as a war of defense and liberation, has now become a war of aggression and conquest. I have seen and endured the sufferings of the troops, and I can no longer be a party to prolonging those sufferings for ends which I believe to be evil and unjust. Also, I believe that I may help to destroy the callous complacence with which the majority of those at home regard the continuance of agonies which they do not share, and which they have not sufficient imagination to realize. S. Sassoon. July 1917. Well, a question was asked about this in the House of Commons, and the Under-Secretary for War told the House that I was suffering from a nervous breakdown, and so I was not responsible for my actions. Very ingenious. Instead of the court-martial I hoped for, I was sent to Craiglockhart to swell the ranks of Dr. Rivers, mentally disabled.
My dearest mother, the most exciting news. Siegfried Sassoon has been sent to Craiglockhart. I have bought several copies of The Old Huntsman. One of them is for you. I'll take them with me and ask him to sign them, when I eventually work up enough courage to knock on his door.
Yes. Come.
Lieutenant Sassoon?
For the moment, yes.
Oh,
I am Sassoon. Is there something you want?
I disturbed you. I'm very sorry.
Having disturbed me, could you not at least tell me why?
It's, these.
What are they?
Copies of your book. Your latest book, I mean. The Old Huntsman.
Hmm? Not wise to go around in public with those under your arm, unless you want to stay in this place until the end of the war.
No.
No?
No, I don't want to stay in this place until the end of the war.
Then you'd be safer even with Shelley, and positively impregnable with Rupert Brooke.
I really have disturbed you. Forgive me, I'm sorry.
No, stay. I don't mean to be rude.
It's not rude. I understand.
You do?
Yes.
Well, it's just that in this place you never know who's going to come in next.
Or what may be wrong with it.
Exactly.
Actually, I like Shelley.
Shelley?
Almost as much as Keats.
Oh?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
For liking Shelley and Keats?
For disagreeing with you.
Oh, you think I don't like Shelley and Keats?
Well, you said...
He is made one with nature. He is a presence to be felt and known, in darkness and in light, from herb and stone. He is a portion of the loveliness which once he made more lovely.
Yes, Aeneas.
Give me just one copy of my book for a moment. Yeah. He was beside me now, as swift as light. I knew him crushed to earth in scentless flowers, and lifted in the rapture of dark pines. For now, he said, my spirit has more eyes than heaven has stars, and they are lit by love. My body is the magic of the world, and dawn and sunset flame with my spilt blood.
The last meeting.
Yes?
Of course. I should have seen that. Will you go on?
No.
I think it is profoundly... It's among the finest in the book.
Oh, I've written worse. Very often.
Won't you finish reading it?
No need. Point is surely made. You still think I don't like Shelley?
That was very stupid of me. I should have known. With Aeneas above all.
You weren't being at all stupid. It's just possible that I was being aggressive.
Or defensive.
Or that, as you say. Whatever else it was rudeness. I hope you'll forgive me. Now, I don't want to pry, but are you going to explain why you're carrying all those copies of my book around with you? Are you delivering them to the patients? Has it been made recommended reading? If it has, the staff must be madder than the inmates.
No.
And why?
I wondered if you might inscribe them for me.
All of them?
Well, if it's too much...
Oh, it's not too much trouble. You've contributed at least 2 shillings worth of royalties there. But all of them for you?
Oh, no. No, for friends and my mother.
Oh, I see.
And one for me.
Good.
Then you will?
I'm very flattered. Of course I will.
Thank you.
Hand them over. Where's my pen?
I've made a list.
Dear God.
What?
Oh, this thing. War is our scourge, yet war has made us wise. And fighting for our freedom, we are free.
Absolution.
You know, I think if I read this one first, I'd be sick all over it and then throw it in the fire.
Well, I did wonder if you really meant it.
I meant it when I wrote it, God help me. The truth was revealed a bit more gradually.
But you decided to publish it?
Yes. Bait them with this and the Huntsman. Hook them with the rest.
Sorry?
It's called tactics. They'll never take it in if I just call them fools, but they might if I admit how much of a fool I was myself.
Oh, I see. It's harder to win the medal than to throw it away.
What makes you say that?
It's just that you have to win the medal before you have the right to say anything. That's all. About the next one, to my brother, when did he... I hope you don't mind me asking, when was he killed?
2 years ago. Exactly 2 years ago. Gallipoli.
Oh. I suppose that was when most of us began to doubt.
Yes, but not me, it would seem. Well, are you sending one of these books to your colonel, by any chance? Well, what is it? Have I been tactless? I've said something I shouldn't. Something that hurt.
No. Nothing important.
Let me see your list, then. Who's this? A relation?
It's Susan. It's my mother.
Ah. Tell me, these puny attempts at enlightening the civilians, won't they worry her? Perhaps frighten her?
You said nothing there that I've not already told her in my letters.
Really? You've told her? Was that a good idea, do you think?
She wants the truth. She doesn't want me to protect her from it, and I certainly couldn't lie to her.
A civilian who wants the truth? Is there such an animal? Even this sort of truth? The bishop tells us when the boys come back, they will not be the same, for they'll have fought in a just cause. We're none of us the same, the boys reply, for George lost both his legs, and Bill's stone blind. Poor Jim's shot through the lungs and like to die, and Bert's gone syphilitic. You'll not find a chap who served that hasn't found some change. And the bishop said, the ways of God are strange.
That's brilliant. And it's true.
Well, it's true. But for your mother?
Yes.
You can trust her with knowing all this?
She must not be taken in by the lies.
And would you risk telling her about yourself? That in the end, every one of us can kill and kill if it means saving our own lives?
If you love someone, that person has to know all that you are. The worst, the most unimaginable, the most horrific, and the most shameful.
Everything that the war calls out of us, in fact.
Do you know? Of course you do. Better than anyone, I think. Your poems will help me to make her understand. Sometimes you will have to know who I am.
Most of the people at home don't want to know, and they don't even try to imagine.
I wrote to her. Winter at the front last February. You know. The cold that makes your brain ache with it. When you're afraid that your eyes will freeze over. I told her about no man's land under snow. Like the face of the moon. A chaos. I called it a place of madness where nothing lived. Not an insect. Not a blade of grass. Only the shadow of the hawk across the sky when it scents carrion. I said that we were the carrion. The glorious dead, lying unburied day after day until their putrefied bodies explode in our faces. We know that we'll die like that. And so we die. Filthy and terrified. And it's all for lies. Their justice and liberation are lies. We really die because no one cares to save us. No one dares to imagine how it is.
We are the only ones who can help them to imagine. If they know the truth, the killing will have to stop.
Will you teach me the words?
What? Jingles, that's all I can write.
Of course you know that's not true. Your poems have too much of yourself in them.
I'm not sure I want to know what you mean.
Compassion is the most important thing.
What? You can't be serious.
But you can, when you write, even though it's very difficult for you when you speak. He drowsed and was aware of silence heaped round him, unshaken as the steadfast walls. Aqueous like floating rays of amber light, soaring and quivering in the wings of sleep. Silence and safety, and his mortal shore lipped by the inward moonless waves of death. Someone was holding water to his mouth. He swallowed, unresisting, moaned and dropped through crimson gloom to darkness, and forgot the opiate throb and ache that was his wound.
He stirred, shifting his body. Then the pain leapt like a prowling beast, and gripped and tore his groping dreams with grinding claws and fangs. But someone was beside him. Soon he lay shuddering because the evil thing had passed, and death, who'd stepped toward him, paused and stared. Light many lamps and gather round his bed. Lend him your eyes, warm blood, and will to live. Speak to him, rouse him, you may save him yet. He's young, he hated war. How should he die when cruel old campaigners win safe through? But death replied, I choose him. So he went. And there was silence in the summer night, silence and safety, and the veils of sleep. Then, far away, the thudding of the guns.
I've been trying for 3 years to... Well, nothing. Never mind. What do you call the deathbed a jingle?
There's always one exception. Sometimes two. Now, one last book. Who's this one for?
For me.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. I didn't know your name.
Owen. W-E-S. Owen.
To W-E-S. Owen. Oh, there you are.
Thank you for doing that. And thank you more for what's in the book.
The pleasure was mine. The astonishment was mine also. Lieutenant Owen!
Sir?
Who are you?
Sir?
What are you? What do you do?
Nothing now, but I shall be a poet.
Second Lieutenant Owen was good at having the last word. It's curious to remember now, after so long. I wondered if he was any good. He was shy, he was ordinary, provincial, perhaps, but he was ardent. And, despite his shyness, there was something. When he talked about no man's land under snow, I wanted very much to talk to him again. But, in truth, I was shy of him.
My own dear mother, here is your signed copy of Sassoon's book. Send me all the manuscript verse of mine that's in your keeping. My dear father, this work of Sassoon's will show you all the best tendencies of modern poetry. The deathbed is a piece of perfect art. My dear sister, the deathbed should be read 7 times, and after that not read again, but thought of only. Dear Leslie, I am sending you The Old Huntsman. The deathbed is the finest poem in it. I have written a thing called The Dead Beat in Sassoon's style, and I've given him a copy of it, along with some others. Sassoon?
Bloody man.
Who, me?
You? No, not you. H.G. Wells. Writes in pink ink. Dim pink ink. I can't make out a word of it. It looks like, hope you'll soon demote yourself to the seal business in Fife. He's gone raving mad. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Devote yourself to the real business of life. Oh, I see. Which is only poetry, by the way.
What is the real business of life?
Oh, politics, of course. He's taken to the Russian Revolution in rather a big way. Expects me to become a sort of Kerensky of the Packleston Hunt. I think you probably have a very silly sense of humour.
Sorry. I wondered if you'd had a chance yet to look at any of the poems I left with you.
Oh, yes. Yes, they're here somewhere. Yes, here they are. No. This is only one man's opinion, of course.
Of course.
No. No. Well, I don't think so. No. This. Rich odoured flowers, so whelmed in fetid earth.
Oh, that's very old.
Well, it hasn't improved with keeping, has it? Luscious.
Sorry.
But this, oh, it's charming. Perfect piece of work. Sing me at morn, but only with your laugh, even as spring that laugheth into leaf. It's a lovely thing. Do me a copy, will you?
Yes, thank you.
No. Sorry. But this... Out there we've walked quite friendly up to death, sat down and eaten with him.
Yes?
What else have you done like this?
Well, I've been trying to do something about this one.
What is it?
I think it has to be called exposure.
Go on.
Well, it's not finished.
Go on!
Our brains ache in the merciless iced east winds that knife us. Wearied, we keep awake because the night is silent. Low, drooping flares confuse our memories of the salient. Worried by silence, sentries whisper, curious, nervous. But nothing happens.
Go on.
The poignant misery of dawn begins to grow. We only know war lasts, rain soaks, and clouds sag stormy. Dawn, massing in the east her melancholy army, attacks once more and ranks on shivering ranks of grey. But nothing happens.
Please, may I see it? Slowly our ghosts drag home, glimpsing the sunk fires. What?
No, I can't finish that yet. It's, well, I think this next stanza's the final one.
Tonight this frost will fasten on this mud and us, shrivelling many hands, puckering foreheads crisp. The burying party, picks and shovels in shaking grasp, pause over half-known faces. All their eyes are ice, but nothing happens.
It was last winter, February. My first in France. The poem is almost as hard as that was. To finish, I mean.
I'll gladly have a word with Heinemann, but I think Martin Secker's the publisher for a small volume, say 10 or 20 poems. I'll get in touch with them right away.
My own dear mother, these last days have been the fullest, the happiest of the year. I like Sassoon equally, as a man, as a friend, as a poet, and his new poems are superb, beyond anything in his last book. I'm not worthy to light his pipe. But he seems to think he could help me to get something published.
I have an uncomfortable suspicion that I've been a bit slow in recognizing his exceptional quality. But I'm thankful I seem not to have discouraged him.
Sassoon's praise is the greatest possible encouragement that I could hope for. He is already a closer friend to me than any. But of course I don't tell him. He keeps all effusiveness strictly within his pages. In this he is eminently English.
As a rule, he was reticent, retiring, but quiet one. But it is also true that there was sometimes an intensity of emotion in him, and more often in his poetry, which I found almost shocking. Well, during all the rest of our time together at Craiglockhart, and I was with him every day, he was contented, he was almost always cheerful, and he was busy.
Siegfried, a favour.
Small one?
An enormous one.
I'm playing golf.
I want a poem from you for the next issue of the journal. Dreamers, please.
Oh, all right. As long as you put in one of yours. That lovely thing. Sing me at morn, but only with your laugh.
Oh, no, not next to one of yours.
Then you won't have one of mine to put it next to it.
But I can't put one of my own poems in. I'm the editor.
I'm not impressed.
It would have to be anonymous.
As long as it goes in. Then I can have copies to show to people who might help.
Copies of my poems?
Yes. It's blackmail.
Oh, Siegfried, another favour.
Oh, no, my turn.
Your turn?
Meet a friend of mine at the station. He's coming up specially to see me.
Well, yes. Although why can't you meet him yourself?
I'm playing golf. Bring him up to the course when he arrives.
All right. Oh, wait. Who is he? How will I know him?
Graves. Robert, captain, poet. Big chap, curly hair, broken nose. You probably won't like him very much. Not sure he'll take to you.
My own dear mother. On Saturday, I met Robert Graves, for Sassoon, whom nothing could keep from his morning's golf. I took Graves over to the course when he arrived. A big, rather plain fellow. Siegfried showed him my longish war piece, Disabled. It seems that Graves was mightily impressed and considers me a sort of find. No thanks, Captain Graves. I'll find myself in due time. Siegfried?
Come in. Oh, you are in. What's wrong?
I just had a letter from Graves.
Good. Well?
About Disabled.
Yes, what does he say?
He talks about my metrical outrages.
Oh, does he?
Says it's like seeing a golfer drive onto the green and one, and then using a cleek instead of a putter and holding out in 12.
Well, that's pretty straightforward.
Maybe to you, because I'm a very careless poet.
What? Oh, let me see then. Well, he also says that if you turn seriously to writing...
Seriously?
Oh, shh. You could obtain Parnassus in no time. Well, I'm still struggling on the knees of that stubborn peak. Does Parnassus have knees? Till then, good luck in the good work. Yours, Robert Graves, love to Sassoon.
Well, what do you think?
I think Robert is the sort of man one likes better after he has left the room. But he's a fine poet. He's an original. It's just that you and he live in different worlds, that's all. And he's absolutely right about you reaching the summit of Mount Parnassus, whether it has knees or not. I think he might reach it. I sometimes think I can't even see the summit, let alone get there. But you... Oh, you, I think, could show all of us the way. If you don't go too far ahead of us. Oh. He's gone. A pity. That was the first real compliment I've ever paid him. What a waste of all that effort. October 1917. It was a few days later that we took the train out to Milnerthort, into the deep yellow sunshine of a Scottish autumn. I just heard the latest news from Passchendaele about the great new offensive. It's the biggest yet. We've lost 250,000 or more.
God.
It sounds as if half of them are being drowned in the mud.
Dear God, help.
Tanks, even the big guns, are being swallowed up by it.
It can't go on.
Oh, it's Hague. Nothing will stop him. We're there only to kill Germans. And ourselves. So, you'll go back for that.
What can I do about it?
When is your board?
Next week, the 28th.
Will you be past fit?
I think so. I am fit.
The dreams?
Sometimes.
Always the same?
Yes. Savvy Wood. After I'd been blown up. Lieutenant Garcrawker in bits around me.
Oh, Christ.
No, it's all right. It's only sometimes now. It's because I lay there for 2 days expecting to die with him. But since you began to help, since we talked, I can go through a night without thinking about it.
So, you'll tell them you're fit and you'll go back?
If I'm sent, I'll have to.
There are ways of getting round it, you know.
How could I do that? I can't shout any kind of protest until I've earned the right. I need some reputation. Now, you already have that.
Oh, please, Wilfred.
No, wait a minute. You've proved your pacifism didn't come out of cowardice. They know that, so they'll listen to you.
There were times when I was so frightened I thought I was paralyzed.
Yes, but what they see are the medals and the scars.
There are worse scars, the ones you can't see.
Yes. Well, neurotic I may be, but I am no longer neurasthenic.
Oh, I didn't mean... No, I didn't.
Are you all right now?
I'm the one who should go back. I've got no right to be here.
No right. They sent you here to keep you quiet.
I was woken up in the middle of the night. A man sobbing outside my bedroom door. I went to see what was happening. He was crouched on the floor, half naked, shivering with cold, crying like a child. When I tried to lift him up, he grabbed me. All I could see in his eyes was pure hate. He hated me because he could see I wasn't mad. If I'm not mad, I've no right to be here. I'm shortening the war for myself, making a separate peace. And what does that make me?
Let's go on. I'd like a drink.
Oh, right. I promise not to tell your mother you've broken the pledge.
Come on. It's getting dark. Look, there, a meteor. I don't know where either of us will go, but I'm glad I'm here tonight with you.
Yes. It's cold. The winter stars. In Passchendaele, the mud will be freezing over them.
Siegfried?
Mm.
It should be like a religious service, like a piece of music, like a blessing. I can't call it an elegy. Give me a word.
You're the one who knows about religious services. What about Anthem?
That's it. That's what I need, is it?
4, not 2.
What?
Well, you can't have Anthem 2, Anthem 4.
Thank you.
You try monstrous. There. Bells are solemn, guns monstrous.
Thank you.
Yep. That line there, there's no irony. The prayers aren't music. What about mockeries? Then it incorporates all the rest of it. Prayers, bells, choirs. What's the problem here?
I think it has to echo the long eyes. Shine, goodbyes, minds, blinds, and the rest. And I wondered about sweet white.
Good for a glass of Sauterne. Doesn't add much to minds, does it?
I had silent before.
Ah, no, that's better. But you've got enough long eyes there. Wouldn't it be better still if you said why they were silent?
Well, how?
Patient. And you've got the alliteration with pallor and pause. The final line is perfect and beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, let me hear all of it.
Anthem for dead youth.
No, it's not for those who are dead. It's for the ones who will die.
So?
Doomed. Yes.
Anthem for doomed youth. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifles' rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for them, no prayers nor bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs, the shrill demented choirs of wailing shells, and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all? Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall, their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds. Can I take your silence as a sign of approval?
That's the way I always register approval, you know that. And I know a great poem when I hear one.
Great.
Dear Wilfred, you must know about this one. Can I take your silence as a sign of consent? I once paid you a compliment about reaching the top of Mount Parnassus.
Did you? I don't remember.
Be that as it may, I did.
No, that was Graves.
You were not there at the time, but I paid you a compliment nevertheless.
I wish I had been there.
Well, this Anthem or elegy or whatever it's to be called, I think you're at the summit, looking down at the rest of us.
Oh, no. I needed too much help to get there, if that's where I am, to look down on anyone. And I could never do anything else but look up to you, with so much gratitude that I shall never be able to express it.
You are there because it is your achievement. The assistants are not important. You stand there by yourself. It was only a week later that the medical board passed him fit. But only for light duties as yet. He was posted to Scarborough. On his last evening, we had dinner together in a quiet club in Edinburgh, and to make him laugh on his journey, I gave him a book of the most indescribable verse I've ever had the pleasure of reading. Loud chiding news their lambkins claim, can fleeced illusions shrill such grame?
Are you making that up?
I am a minor versifier of the language, not a mass bloody murderer of it. For God's sake, find out and tell me what the silly man's talking about.
I will. Grain.
You'll miss your train.
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'll write.
Yes, do. You must. Go. Now. 12 months left. When he reached home, he wrote to thank me for the brown-sealed envelope I'd given him when we parted. It contained a £10 note and the London address of a close friend of mine I hoped might help him. My dear Robbie Ross.
My dear Sassoon, when I had opened your envelope in a quiet corner of the club staircase, I sat on the stairs and groaned a little, and then I went up and loosed off a gourd, a Gothic vacuum of a letter, which I put by, as you would recommend for such effusions, until I could think the thing over, without grame.
Yes, but what does the silly word mean?
I thank you, but not on this paper only, or in any writing. You gave, with what Christ, if he had known Latin and dealt an oxymoron, might have called sinister dexterity. I imagined you were entrusting me with some holy secret concerning yourself.
There were, I think, by this time, no secrets between us.
The contents of this envelope have not intensified my feelings for you by the least grain.
Oh, I wish now I'd never given him the bloody book.
You must know that since mid-September, when you still regarded me as a tiresome little knocker at your door, I held you as Keats, plus Christ, plus my commanding officer, plus my father confessor, plus Amenophis IV, in profile. What is all this mathematically? In effect, it is this, that I love you, dispassionately, so much, so very much, my dear fellow, that the blasting little smile you wear on reading this can't hurt me in the least.
He misjudged me, for once.
If you consider what the above names have severally done for me, you will know what you are doing. And you have fixed my life, however short. You did not like me. I was always a mad comet, but you have fixed me. I spun around you a satellite for a month, but I shall swing out soon, a dark star in the orbit where you will blaze. Some day I must tell how we sang, shouted, whistled, and danced through the dark lanes of Collington, and how we laughed until the meteors showered around us, and we fell calm under the winter stars. And some of us saw the pathway of the spirits for the first time, and seeing that pathway so far above us, and feeling the good road so safe beneath us, we praised God with louder whistling, and knew we loved one another as no men love for long. I wish you were less undemonstrative, for I have many adjectives with which to qualify myself. As it is, I can only say I am your proud friend, Owen.
My dear Wilfred, I write for the last time from Dottierville. I'm going back. Dr. Rivers tells me that if I stick to my pacifist statement, I shall be kept here until the end of the war, and so join the ranks of the complacent ones, the safe ones. Well, I like the comfortable idea of being middle-aged, of smoking a pipe and writing my memoirs. And one day, I should like to listen to Mozart in Salzburg. But those are daydreams. There are other dreams at night. It's the dead as well as the living. One of the dead more than all the others. Nothing I've done so far has helped me to live with his death. I can't leave it there. They died. He died. But mutinous, I cried to those who sent him. Love drove me to rebel. Love drives me back. To be with them in hell. To be forgiven. I won't try to explain. You'll understand, even though it doesn't make sense.
I sit alone, and therefore with you, my dear Siegfried. I am very safe here in Scarborough and very busy, bossing everybody about. But I shall have time for seclusion. There is no one here whose mind is truth, or whose body is Keats's synonym for truth. But how do we keep you from France? Write and tell me how you are.
Board has passed me fit for general service overseas. A rare honour on discharge from Dottyville. I rejoined my regiment this week. The new year should see me back in France.
'Tis almost midnight. The intolerable instant of change. Last year at this time I lay awake in a windy tent in the middle of a vast, dreadful encampment. A kind of paddock where the beasts are kept before the slaughterhouse. I thought of this coming year, and whether I should ever see it.
Make no mistake. I have every intention of being extremely active when I'm a ghost, and I shall go on haunting you until you achieve all the great things I expect of you. Let 1918 be the year of Wilfred Owen. I drink to your triumphs, and to our memories of Scotland.
I had a third heaven of a time in London. Robbie took me to the Reform Club for lunch. The odd upstart rodent of a man who sat next to me was Arnold Bennett. The bayonet-coloured eyes threatening me from over, as it were, a brown sandbag belonged to H.G. Wells. H.G. talked to me exclusively for an hour. Robbie introduced me to them, and to everyone we met, as Owen the poet. And that's how I go out of this year. I am started. The tugs have left me. I feel the great swelling of the open sea taking me. Oh, Siegfried, what a world you are making for me. But dearest of friends, where are you?
I took the long road back to France, via Limerick, Brindisi, Alexandria, and Jerusalem. From Ireland to Palestine, from my mother's country to the land of my forefathers. In both places I remained entirely and obstinately English. Anyway, we didn't stay long in Jerusalem. Within a month we got news from the Western Front. So bad that we were packed off immediately from Palestine to France. We landed at Marseille on the 7th of May. Our war was starting again. Craiglockhart was another age. By the 8th of June, I was back in the front line. Our mission was to take back from the Boche those few miles of battered ground that we'd bought with 500,000 lives in those battles of the Somme 2 years before. I found myself in the same place where I'd been wounded in Easter 1917. Hundreds of thousands of lives had bought nothing, had proved nothing. I wonder, what was I trying to prove? Just that I was not a sheep waiting to be slaughtered at their command, and nor would I lead my company to be slaughtered at their command. Another protest, I suppose. even more ineffectual than the first. All I did was go out on a raid, unofficially. And when the sun came up in no man's land, it was hot. A beautiful summer morning. I took off my tin hat to feel the sun on my face, and I didn't hear the bullet leave the rifle. One moment I was revelling in the astonishment of being alive, and the next I was lying flat on my face with what felt like a very large hole in the right side of my skull. They carried me back to England in the middle of July. My war seemed to be over. I couldn't understand why I had not been killed when there were so many others who... It took me a long time to accept the fact that now I should not be killed, that I should be one of the survivors. After all that, I was going to live on, alone, to write the memoirs, to listen to Mozart in Salzburg.
Siegfried. Siegfried. It's me.
What? What do you want?
It's me. You remember? Wilfred. I've come to see you.
Yes. My dear chap. Wilfred. How kind of you.
Don't try to move.
I'm sorry, I can't seem to stand up just at the moment. I think I might fall on my head. I promise you I've not had a drink for weeks.
I shouldn't have woken you. Sorry.
Wilfred, my dear chap, please. Won't you sit down? Find a chair. Sit by me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped it. Forgive me. I frightened you.
Frighten me? Why should you think I'd be frightened?
No, I just thought I might have startled you, that's all.
Wilfred, listen.
Yes?
I'm not mad. My head still functions. It hurts sometimes, so they give me things.
Yes.
But underneath all that, I'm still me. You remember?
I remember.
I'm still who I was. Slower, I think, so you may have to be careful. But not kind.
No, I won't.
Not kind. I think I should find that very embarrassing.
You are still who you were.
Good. That's good.
I've not changed much either. I came because I want you to do something for me.
Oh, I'm not...
I've got your new book. I want you to inscribe it for me.
It was the first time we met.
Yes, it was.
But only one book this time. Then you had dozens of them.
More or less.
Not quite the hero I used to be.
Well, I bought 300 copies, but I thought doing them all at once might tire you. I'll bring one a day for the next 300 days, if I may.
Be quiet and give me a pen.
Have you seen the reviews?
Robbie is bringing them. Are they bad?
No, but you've astonished them.
Oh, splendid.
Thought that might please you.
They don't like being astonished, of course. Are they indignant as well?
Some of them.
I got the book out just in time, then. I can't see there'll be any more. Not from me. Not now. Now it's up to you. Oh, come on, tell me. What have you been doing?
Oh, that's not important. I don't want to talk about me. This. How did it happen?
Idiocy. Chiefly mine. Now tell me. I'm out of touch with everything.
Well,
Robbie says that you've met Osbert Sitwell.
Yes, he introduced them.
And?
He's a bit alarming, isn't he?
And Edith?
She's even more alarming.
So you didn't get on?
Well, I think we did. Scott Moncrief showed mental cases to Edith for their anthology this year.
Mental cases?
Sure I sent it to you. It's Craiglockhart, really.
Oh, remind me.
Who are these? Why sit they here in twilight?
These are men whose minds the dead have ravished. Memory fingers in their hair of murder. Multitudinous murders they once witnessed.
Can I get you something?
No, thank you. So, Scott Moncrief showed it to them, and...
They want more.
Won't they publish?
I may have left it late for this year.
But they want them.
Oh, yes. If I am too late, they'll go next year.
Oh, come on, tell me the rest.
Robbie has been talking to Heinemann. I have to get my things typed and send them off to him. Then Heinemann will give them to Robbie for his opinion.
And what is Robbie's opinion?
Oh, well, you know.
So Heinemann will publish.
Robbie thinks he will.
Ah, I think I shall be very smug indeed to have been proved totally right, no matter how slow I was to realize.
Without you, none of this would have happened.
Of course it would. It would just have happened later, that's all.
How are you feeling?
Rather like a cat who's fallen into the cream churn.
No. I mean, are you all right?
I'm getting better by the minute.
Are you up to helping me? I've been jotting down some ideas for a preface to the book.
It's got that far?
Well, in case. May I?
I'm waiting.
This book is not about heroes. English poetry is not yet fit to speak of them. Nor is it about deeds or lands, nor anything about glory, honour, might, majesty, dominion, or power, except war. Above all, I am not concerned with poetry. My subject is war, and the pity of war. And poetry is in the pity. Yet these elegies are to this generation in no sense consolatory. They may be to the next. All a poet can do today is warn.
You need help. From me.
Will it do, do you think?
I think it'll do. Just as it is.
Of course, there's no chance that it would come out before next year.
Yeah, have patience.
I'll try. By the time my book's out, it will be too late, I hope. It should all be over, don't you think so?
I can't see why it should ever stop. Do you know, I caught this in the same square mile of France where I was shot last year. I keep going back, the same targets to the same places.
Will you tell me about it?
No, it wasn't much.
I do want to know. Will you?
Why?
In case I go back.
You tell me you're going, I'll stick a bayonet through your leg. That should stop you.
I think you would.
You might have to live with a limp, but you'd live.
Scott Moncrief has talked about a job in the War Office.
Can he arrange that?
But then I'd never know.
About yourself?
Yes.
You're still not sure.
You see, if I knew how it felt when the bullet hits you, and what you feel when you think you're dying, I need to face the worst my mind can imagine and then go out to it, consciously, knowing it was my own decision.
That's hard.
I don't have the sort of courage to go blindly, to abandon myself to whatever happens, or going only because I'm ordered to. That shifts the responsibility for my death onto someone else. Now, if I'm going to be killed, it must have been my choice, because I want that sort of death.
Then aren't you talking about true courage?
Am I? I've always been unsure. I can never possibly do what you've done. Go out alone at night into no man's land, completely alone, capture a trench, and then sit there writing poems in it.
You've been talking to Graves.
He told me something about it.
He has no right. Anyway, I was not writing poems. I was reading them.
Which makes all the difference. I'm sure I can never find that
Wilfred,
pure...
will you listen to me? That's got nothing to do with courage. It's more like being drunk than being brave. Bravado, perhaps. Elation. Anger, certainly. All those things. I'm not proud of it.
You've never been proud of anything you've done, have you?
Yes, I think I have, sometimes. But not this. It might have been a death wish. Oh, all I'm sure of is that I had to do something. I was violently angry with the whole of the war. It's my private revenge more than anything else.
Revenge?
When I first went out to France, I crossed the Channel with a young officer, David. He was 19, came from Wales. Straight from school to officer training, he'd learned nothing. More particularly, he'd not learned bitterness. He had all those things we should be born with. Truth, integrity, gentleness, patience. He was cheerful as if it was always summer. His smile was brilliant. One afternoon, we borrowed a couple of horses. And we rode out to a village near Amiens and had tea with so many cakes a schoolboy would have been sick for a week. He shouldn't have died, you see. He'd had no life. And he trusted us, the world. He trusted me. I should have died, not him. So, when he'd gone, I...
How did it happen?
He went up to the trenches without me. He went on a raid with a wiring party and he was shot in the throat. He choked in his own blood. We buried him on the slope of a hill. Words of the service were drowned out by mortar and machine gun fire. He was dropped into a hole in the ground, wrapped in a sack. That's all there was of him. That's when I found out about death.
You needed revenge?
I tried to die. I'd made up my mind to die. I did things I can't believe now. I'm sure I was mad. And it doesn't go away. In France, a few weeks ago, there's a man with his jaw blown off by a bomb. His head was covered in bandages, face completely hidden. The sound of his breathing. And I thought, David died like that. And then the same anger, the same madness.
He sold you, David, in the letter to Robert. And in the last meeting.
Yes, he is. And they wouldn't let me have my revenge. I was too great a risk. Oh, quite right, they took me out of the line. And so I wrote about him to keep him alive for a bit longer.
I shouldn't have made you remember. Forgive me.
Well, you see, there's nothing in my sort of courage that you could want for yourself. You find your way. Not with anger, not for revenge, not in madness.
You're being very stupid. All you've told me about is caring and compassion. And love.
I'm tired. I don't think I want to talk for a while.
Do you want me to go?
Oh, not yet. Your new poem. Read that to me.
It's not enough. Writing grand elegies from the safe heart of Yorkshire. It seems, I don't know, paltry after what you've done.
The truth, of course, is exactly the other way around. You know, it's a beautiful day out there in the garden.
Is that allowed?
I will allow you.
I knew it was a silly question.
Reminds me of that line of yours. Rich odoured flowers, so whelmed in fetid earth.
You used not to like that, as I remember.
I still don't. Luscious.
It is, isn't it?
Ah, you know it yourself now. Good. Now my worldly task is done.
I knew it then. I was just too arrogant to admit it, that's all.
Never met anybody less arrogant in my life.
That was only with you. It would have been more than my life was worth.
Yeah, that's true. But really, you're not nearly as timid as you used to be.
Not with you.
Oh, you used to think me very grand. Stuck up, you told me.
Yes, but you were.
That is absolute rubbish.
That's exactly what I mean. But in those days I could see you only as someone with all the gifts I envied and all the privileges I wanted for myself. Your home, Marlborough, Cambridge.
Only for a year. Too bloody lazy to work for my degree.
At least that was your decision. I couldn't even get a scholarship. Why did you really go down from Cambridge?
That wasn't good enough. I didn't need a degree to tell me I had a third-rate intellect and absolutely no academic bent. What an idiotic phrase that is.
My teacher told my father he thought I had an academic bent. My father looked very worried. He thought it meant that reading Keats all day I was getting round-shouldered.
I like the sound of your father. I think I should find him very reassuring.
Why, I wonder. Do you know, when he heard I'd been passed fit for general service, he wrote saying, "Gratified to know you're normal again." You never knew your father, did you?
Oh, not really. Well, I was only 5 when he left my mother, 9 when he died. But my mother had ideas of her own. She thought me her second self. And she called me Siegfried because she had a fierce passion for Wagner. Oh, thank God we never had a sister. Can you imagine? Brynhilde Sassoon.
Is that true? The hero of the ring?
Have I never told you? Oh, yeah. Yes. Heroism is a kind of social obligation on me, inflicted at the font.
There aren't any heroes called Wilfred, are there?
Oh, don't complain. It's like having the old man of the sea on your back. You know, most of my life has been spent trying to live up to my name. And look where it's got me now.
It would help me if you could tell me about it.
Oh, it was another piece of bravado. I'd been getting more and more tense, jumpy, you know.
Yes, and?
And then I couldn't stand it any longer. I went across the line with a corporal, Davis, first-rate chap. We threw bombs at a machine-gun post. I'm sure we missed the thing, and then ran back. We took a breather when we got near our own lines. I took off my tin hat.
What?
Well, it was hot out there. I stood up. And we had a very keen sergeant in our company. He knew a German when he saw one. Next thing I knew, it felt as if I'd been hit by a sledgehammer in the side of my skull.
It was one of your own men?
Oh, yeah. A first-rate shot, too. Daddy wasn't on form that day. If he'd hit half an inch to the left, well, you'd have been saying your anthem over me. I say. Do you think he'd been bribed by the War Office? I'm sure they've been out to get me ever since I was discharged from Dottyville. Oh, nearly made it this time.
Did you think that you'd die?
Certain of it. And you know, I lay there, all this stuff oozing out of my head, thinking, my last words ought to be memorable. Oh, Siegfried's final aria and all that. But I couldn't think of a thing to say except, my head hurts.
And that was it?
That's all. You're right. This war is not about heroes.
It's really about boys of 19 being shot in the throat and dying before they've had a chance to live. And to learn why. And the people who throw away those lives for their own glory, or profit, or both. I think it's about the annihilation, the wanton destruction of everything we love.
You have cried your cry. You have paid your blood.
What was that? I didn't hear.
On the boat, I tried to say something. Still worrying about the last words, I expect. Wilfred, I'm suddenly very tired. Do you think we could go in?
Tell me what you wrote.
Oh, it doesn't work. I can't do it. It starts, for the last time I say, war is not glorious. The lads march out superb and die victorious.
It can't ever be said for the last time, though, can it?
There's no help for it. The last lines are, oh, my heart, be still. You have cried your cry. You have played your part.
All you have achieved, you pig-headed man, is the wholly impossible. And don't argue. I'm the best judge of that. You must sleep now.
Sleep, yes. I'll see you again.
things to do. But I'll see you as soon as I can.
Good.
Until then?
Until then.
Dearest of all friends, I am in hasty retreat towards the front. I couldn't say goodbye at the hospital. I was incoherent. I'm much nearer to you here than I was in Yorkshire, and I am by so much happier. Everything is clear now.
I'd no idea he'd already decided. If I'd known...
You'd have stabbed me through the leg. I was frightened of you. If you'd said the heart or the brain, I'd have let you do it.
Is it for me or why?
My subject is war. I told you. Battle is easier here. You'll stay and wage the more bitter, the more hopeless war.
Alone.
What more is there to say that you will not better understand unsaid?
I didn't even try to stop him. If I'd known...
My dearest mother, I can tell by so many signs that Siegfried is really unnerved this time. Now I must throw my little candle on his torch and go out again. I'm glad. That is, I'm more glad than I am afraid. I shall be better able to cry my cry, to play my part. The words, of course, belong to the greatest friend I have. It's his condition, not my own, that makes me wretched. We must all eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow weep. We live, and the day after tomorrow. Live, live, live. I am wretched tonight, missing you so much. Not everybody can boast that their mother is absolute in their affections. But I believe it will be so with me. Always. Lance Corporal Jones, my excellent batman, has been prattling away trying to cheer me up because he thought I was sad. I suppose I have been thinking too wildly. And so, crying a little. For only you to hear.
Wilfred, was it my fault?
Dearest of friends, on my last day in England, I went down to Folkestone Beach and into the sea. The sun was warm, the skies were clear, the waves were dancing fast and bright. Remember when we talked about Shelley's stanzas written in dejection? Well, serenity that Shelley never dreamed of crowns me. I wonder, will it last? At Boulogne it was wet and cold, but my serenity is independent of sunlight. You would not know me for the poet of sorrows.
For now, he said, my spirit has more eyes than heaven has stars, and they are lit by love. My body is the magic of the world, and dawn and sunset flame with my spilt blood.
I'll remember. In a village near Amiens, I found a shop where you can still get tea, and enough cakes to make a schoolboy sick for a week. I'll remember when I go up to the line. That will be any hour now.
He stood alone in some queer sunless place where Armageddon ends. Perhaps he longed for days he might have lived, but his young face gazed forth untroubled.
I feel confident because I know I came out here to help. Directly, by leading my men as well as an officer can. Indirectly, by watching their sufferings that I may plead for them as well as I can. I have done the first.
The news from the front was changing. We began to advance. The German troops had been told that this battle could decide the outcome of the war. They lost it, and with it their faith in ultimate victory. At the end of September, we began the great attack, and we passed the Hindenburg line.
Very dear Siegfried, I've been in action some days. Our experience has passed the limits of abhorrence. I lost all my earthly faculties and fought like an angel. You'll guess what happened when I say that I'm now commanding the company. And in the line, I had a seraphic boy lance corporal as my sergeant major. I have mentioned my excellent batman, Jones. In the first wave of the attack, he was shot in the head and thrown on top of me. He lay there dead, his blood soaking my shoulder for half an hour. It's still there. crimson on my tunic.
I saw his round mouth's crimson deepen as it fell, like a sun in his last deep hour, watched the magnificent procession of farewell clouding, half gleam, half glower, and a last splendour burn the heavens of his cheek, and in his eyes the cold stars lighting, very old and bleak, in different skies.
I can't say I suffered anything, having let my brain grow dull. My nerves then are in perfect order, my senses charred. I shall feel again as soon as I dare, but now I must not. I don't take the cigarette out of my mouth when I write deceased across their letters. Siegfried, I don't know what you'll think, but I've been recommended for the MC, and I've recommended every single NCO who was with me. I'm glad of it, for the confidence it would give me at home.
For conspicuous gallantry and devotion to duty in the attack on the Fonsomme line on the 1st and 2nd of October 1918. On the company commander becoming a casualty, he assumed command and showed fine leadership and resisted a heavy counter-attack. He personally manipulated a captured enemy machine gun in an isolated position and inflicted considerable losses on the enemy. Throughout he behaved most gallantly.
I think it's all over for a long time. Moreover, the war is nearing an end. Do you know what you will do? What are you doing now? Can you tell me?
My very dear Wilfred, Dr. Rivers came to see me. He tells me I'll never be past fit to go back to the line. I wanted to come back. I longed to, as an observer, an official war correspondent, to report the truth. But Eddie Marsh reminded me that the War Office might not be entirely sympathetic. Then, through Arnold Bennett, Lord Beaverbrook approached me, asking me what qualifications I could offer for a job with the Ministry of Information. I replied that the only qualification I could think of was that I'd been shot in the head. Oh, Wilfred, I shouldn't be here with these people. Waking and sleeping, I dream of you out there, and I'm filled with longing to be with all of you again. Robbie had a sudden heart attack, and he died. Must be the only time his heart has ever failed him. I miss him so much. Now there's no one here. Don't throw away your medal. When you come back, you can flaunt it in the face of that unspeakable colonel who doubted you.
It's rumoured that Austria has already surrendered. The new soldiers cheer when they hear the rumours, but the old ones bite in their pipes and go on cleaning their rifles unbelieving.
On the 4th of October, the German Commander-in-Chief, General Ludendorff, formally asked for an armistice. The Kaiser dismissed him. But then the German people began a revolution. The navy mutinied at Kiel. Soldiers began to desert in regiments. At last, Austria-Hungary agreed to an armistice. The Habsburg Empire was dead. It was the 3rd of November.
Dearest Mother, I'm writing in a smoky cellar. The smoke is so thick I can hardly see, and so thick are the inmates that I can hardly write for nudges and jolts. It's a great life. There is no danger down here, or if there is, it will be over before you read these lines. I hope you're as warm as I am, as serene in your room as I am here. Of this, I am certain. You could not be visited by a band of friends half so fine as those who surround me here. Dearest friend, some poems to tempt you to a letter. I don't give you my mother's address. I know you would try to see her if I failed to see her again.
I would have poured my spirit without stint, but not through wounds, not on the cess of war. Foreheads of men have bled where no wounds were.
I am the enemy you killed, my friend.
Oh.
I knew you in the dark, for so you frowned. Yesterday through me as you jabbed and killed. I parried, but my hands were loath and cold. Let us sleep now.
Why do you lie with your legs ungainly huddled, and one arm bent across your sullen, cold, exhausted face? It hurts my heart to watch you. Drowsy, you mumble and sigh and turn your head. You are too young to fall asleep forever, and when you sleep, you remind me of the dead. At 5:45, on the morning of the 4th of November, his company led the crossing of the Sambre Canal. His men remember him going among them, encouraging them, joking with them. He began to help them to fix some duckboards at the edge of the water. That's where he was machine-gunned to death. The armistice was signed exactly 1 week later, on the 11th of November at 5 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock, the fighting stopped. At 12 o'clock, the victory bells were ringing out in Shrewsbury. Bands were playing, crowds cheering. His mother and father began, in gratitude, to pray. Then the telegram arrived. I was staying near Oxford when I heard the bells. My mind was empty, except for the thought that no amount of bell-ringing and drunken crowds waving flags should dull the memory of what that war had been, or make us forget how much we had to mourn. Of course, I've never been able to accept his loss. Too much of myself went with him. All these years afterwards, there's still a chasm in my private existence, which, briefly, he had filled. I think that's why I remember. But I try to remember the delight he often brought me, and I like to believe that with me he was at his best. I recall no shadow of unhappiness or of misunderstanding between us. About him, too, I believe that when I find new loveliness to praise, and things long known shine out in sudden grace, then will I think, he moves before me now. So he will never come but in delight, and as it was in life, his name shall be wonder awaking in a summer dawn, and youth that, dying, touched my lips to song.
Not About Heroes was written by Stephen MacDonald, who also appeared as Siegfried Sassoon. Wilfred Owen was played by James Telfer. The producer was Stuart Conn, and Not About Heroes was first broadcast on the 10th of May 1983.